Hey guys, Bethany here, all things life and fitness. Today's video, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about my health journey that I've been dealing with really years, but mainly the last 5 or 6 months. So if you don't know this already, 3 weeks ago, I had a complete hysterectomy. And a complete hysterectomy means they took out my uterus, my fallopian tubes, and my cervix. At the end of this video, I'm going to share with you the results of my pathology test. So after my surgery, they took my uterus and they sent it to pathology, and I'm going to share those results with you. It's pretty crazy. Now, this was not an immediate decision. This has been a long time coming. So I started my period first thing when I was 11 years old, and I've always had very bad, heavy, and painful periods. Then when I was 21, I got married, and 22 got pregnant with my first child. So for 9 years, because I birthed 4 children, for 9 years I was either pregnant or breastfeeding, so I did not have a period. So once I weaned Nora, who is my 4th child, and I got my period back, it was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It lasted a full 10 days. It was very painful and just not something that I felt like I could live with forever. So I contacted my general practitioner. I was no longer breastfeeding, so I couldn't see my OB anymore. Saw my general practitioner, and she did an ultrasound, and she said, "Oh yeah, your uterus is very inflamed. You just have an angry uterus." And that's all she had to tell me. She said, "You can go on birth control." At this point, my husband had had a vasectomy, so there was no need for me to go on birth control. But she said, "Really, that's the only thing I can offer you. It might get better as you get further, as time goes on." So I said, okay. Well, it didn't get better, just progressively got worse. So I contacted my OB because I felt like I had birthed 4 children with her, and I just felt like she might really listen to me. So she did a full blood hormone panel. She did another ultrasound, and she said, "Look, everything's coming back normal. I just don't know what to tell you." And at this point, I'm giving you the very summarized version of it. This was like emails and phone calls with these doctors of going back and forth, telling them every detail to every one of my symptoms. And there was a time I really started to feel like, man, am I crazy? Is this really normal? Is this going to be my normal forever? I have to live like this? And I just thought, there's no way. I have to advocate for myself and just keep pushing. So multiple visits later with my OB, I said, "You've got to do something. I cannot live like this." So she said, "Okay, I'm going to refer you to a specialist, but it might take a few months to get in. So in the meantime, here are your options." And by this point, I wasn't wanting to be on hormones long-term or birth control, but at this point, I was like, I will take anything to help me with the symptoms until we can come up with a long-term plan. So she gave me the Depo shot, which is a birth control shot that you get in your butt every 3 months. She said the benefits of it is that it should help my symptoms. Most women that take it don't have a period at all. And so I said, I'll do it just for the immediate time to help with my symptoms. I got that in February of this last year, early February. I didn't have any bleeding for 2 weeks, and then I started bleeding, and it did not stop until I got my surgery 3 weeks ago. And by not stop, it was not normal bleeding. It was not period bleeding. This was like hemorrhaging out bleeding. I mean, this might be too many details, but through this, over the last several months, I have been messaging on Instagram with hundreds of women who are dealing with this same type of stuff. This doesn't get talked about. Doctors just kind of brush it off, and it's crazy to me. This was just something I could not live like. So John and I had our 10-year anniversary planned for end of July. And so I really wanted to wait till after that if a hysterectomy was the final option. So at this point, I got into the specialist. Kind of getting ahead of myself. Back up. In May, I saw the specialist. She's a pelvic pain specialist, I believe was her title. And she was incredible. She listened to my symptoms. She asked questions all the way from my childhood, from when I first started my period. And where, the other doctors just kind of said, oh, you birthed 4 kids. Your uterus is angry. This is normal. Hopefully it goes away. This doctor was not like that. I felt heard. And so I was really encouraged. And she said, look, Bethany, she said, right now it is about getting you the best quality of life. And if that is a hysterectomy, that's what we should do. And she said that she has done thousands of hysterectomies and she has never had a woman regret getting one. And that was really encouraging to me. So at this point, my only options were getting an IUD in, which is an intrauterine device, and it is localized hormones. It's the non-hormone one was not an option for me. So I would have had the hormone one, which I didn't want to do. And my only other option was a hysterectomy. My mom has had a hysterectomy. I ended up, doing some research and finding like support groups of women who had hysterectomies. And I still to this day have not found one woman that has said, I regret getting a hysterectomy. So I said, I think that's going to be the best option for me. But I really wanted to wait till after our anniversary trip was going to be the end of July of this year. So we were trying to manage my symptoms with different medicines. The doctor gave me this progesterone medication that I had to take 3 times a day. It made me very sick. I felt like I had morning sickness every day. And then I was on it for a few weeks and it made me feel depressed. I have never struggled with depression, but it was to the point where I did not want to get out of bed in the morning. So once I let my doctor know that, she said, stop taking it right away. I'm going to give you something new. We tried this new medication, was much better, but did not take away any of the bleeding. And again, I know this is a lot of information or a lot of very personal information, but when I say bleeding, it was not something that you could function. I could not leave my house. I had to wear a Depends diaper to my son's kindergarten graduation. That is insane and awful. Like I just couldn't live like that. So a couple weeks ago, John was in Alaska on a trip. And while he was gone, I passed out. I don't know if it was because I was anemic or what. I passed out in the night while going from the bathroom back to my bed. So the next day I let my doctor know that. And she said, look, Bethany, I know you really want to go on this trip, but it's not really an option anymore. Like we need to get you in right away. So surgery will be scheduled for Monday. And this was on a Wednesday. So Wednesday, she scheduled my surgery for Monday. And I just had to kind of, take that in for a minute. But I was very thankful. So we moved our trip. And the reason we had to move our trip is because you have to be at least 6 weeks post-surgery in order to fly or be submerged in water. So I cannot be submerged in water for 6 weeks after surgery. So we were able to move our trip, no problem. I had the hysterectomy surgery. I was very nervous going into it just because I've had one other surgery. I had hip surgery like 15 years ago and I got really sick from the anesthesia. And then just having surgery in general is kind of nerve-wracking. So I expressed to her my concerns. She said, look, we'll take care of your nausea. We'll make sure we give you nausea medicine. We will make you as comfortable as possible. And they did. And it was such an incredible experience. It was an outpatient surgery. So I was able to go in the morning. The surgery, I think, took about an hour and a half. And then I was there for 3 to 4 hours in recovery. And then John was able to take me home. And I've been recovering at home since. Now, the only limitations are I cannot work out or lift anything above 10 pounds for 6 weeks. I cannot be submerged in water. And then I have to be, really careful and listen to my body on what makes me feel good and what I can't overdo it. So I am 3 weeks post-surgery and I can definitely say that has changed my life for the better. Before surgery, I had really bad hormonal acne and it is already almost gone. I no longer have night sweats. I'm no longer bleeding and I will never bleed out of my vagina again. It's like the best thing. I'll never have a period again. And I don't have to take synthetic hormones because they were able to leave my ovaries. My ovaries were healthy. They did not have to take it out. After surgery, they took my uterus and they sent it into pathology to be tested to see what the heck is wrong with it. My mom had endometriosis. They did not think that I had that, but they thought that I possibly had something called adenomyosis. And that's where the the lining of the uterus stays confined within the uterus, but it starts growing through the uterine walls and causes pain and excessive bleeding. So they thought I had that, but the only way to test that is by sending the uterus to pathology. They cut it open and they test it. Turns out I had none of that. My uterus came back very healthy, and they just have no idea why. They said I had some benign cysts on my fallopian tubes, but that likely would not have caused any of the excessive bleeding. So the doctor said she has no idea what was wrong with me, but she is very happy that we went ahead with this surgery because now I'm going to have the best quality of life that I can, and I am really happy and thankful for it. I'm really happy that I found a doctor who, despite everything, test results showing that everything's fine, she really listened to me and my feelings about my body, because really we know our body's best. So advocate for yourself. If you feel like what your doctor is telling you is not right, then find a new doctor. Doctors are human too. They're very smart, but they don't know everything. And we know our body best, and we have to advocate for ourselves. So if you're not yet subscribed, be sure to subscribe to my channel below. And if you're dealing with anything along these lines, any symptoms like this, you can direct message me on Instagram if you want to keep it private, or let me know in the comments below and we can chat. I can promise you that you are not alone. There are hundreds of women that are going through this same thing or similar thing. And I know because I've been talking with them since I have been experiencing this. Just know that you are not alone, that so many women are experiencing similar things. And again, you have to advocate for yourself, and you know your body best.